All right, here I am, Paul Stetzowitz with Weeks Aircraft. These are the wing struts to the Bucker Jungmeister. Just take a look at them, make sure they're clean, no damage. We were inspecting the leather boots that go over here, and after looking at them closely, we determined that they're kind of tired. We thought maybe we could save them with some leather conditioner, but they're looking kind of tired. So Andrea took a look at one. She's going to get some leather and see if she can sew us up some new ones on the machine, just because the rest of the airplane is so pretty. New fabric, new paint. We don't want to put nasty leather boots on there, so we're going to get some new ones made.
Hi, I'm Andrea with the Aircraft Restoration Department here at Fantasy of Flight, and today what we're going to be doing is taking these old strut boots from the Jungmeister here. They used to fit around like so, and make new ones, because as you can see, these are a little old, little tired, not really repairable at this point, so it's just going to be easier to make new ones, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to start with a basic raw material here. Originally I went with a cowhide, and it just wasn't very pliable enough to form it to the airplane, so I went back and I got a sheepskin, and it forms and molds a lot nicer. And since we're having to mold this on the airplane with the strut in place on the wing, we really need something nice and pliable in order to do that with. So we'll start off with just cutting out a section of leather here, and step 2 is to give it a nice coat of dye, and then after that we're going to give it a nice coat of wax, and then we're actually going to take this and form it on the airplane, and that's why we're dyeing it and we're waxing it first. Okay, so as you can see, there's more than one that we're going to have to do. We have several different size shapes and sizes of strut boots to do, so they really have to be done individually. They're all a little bit different angles, they're all a little bit different sizes, so we really have to form each one individually. We can't just do one generic mold. And there's over a dozen pieces here to do. What we'll end up doing is eventually stitching them directly onto the airplane. Now, it doesn't mean they can't ever come off, but in order to get these off, the actual strut has to come off of the airplane. And they fit pretty snugly on there.
She's going to make it on the airplane.
Okay.
She seemed to think that's going to work. We had to go to a different material too.
I see, yeah, because she had to go to Tampa to get something or whatever.
Yeah, so we went to, I think she went with like a lamb skin or something, because the leather was too stiff, so you need something more flexible.
Okay.
But all the time she was messing with it, you don't know what the angle is from the strut to the wing.
Right.
And that leather thing has to form to that angle.
Okay.
So she's having to make it on the airplane.
So this is just kind of a temporary rig. And
yeah, it's on, but I'm not going to do anything else beside this until she does that.
This is the piece that we are going to make. It is off the left lower wing. So I'm going to just make a really rough outline around it and cut it out. Certain parts I'm going to make slightly bigger than they need to be. So we can always cut off material, but we can't add it. It's not important to get it exact, because we are going to trim it after it's formed onto the airplane. Okay, next step is to dye it. We're using a dark brown leather dye, water-based. Cut it with a little bit of water. It goes on a little less marbly that way, but we still want it pretty dark. And this looks uneven right now, but it doesn't matter, because we are going to go back and do more. We want a nice deep dark brown on this. Okay, that's a nice even coat, so we're going to let that dry and then come back, and if it's dry and it's the color that we want and it's nice and even, then go ahead and put some wax on it. Alright, so I actually let this dry overnight, mainly because it was time to go home. It does take 2 or 3 hours sometimes to dry. It was pretty chilly in the hangar, so of course it's going to take a little bit longer to dry, but we know that this is good and dry because I did let it dry overnight. I'm perfectly happy with the color, and it's nice, consistent all the way through, not very marbly or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some wax to this. I'm going to take this ball of beeswax, and there's lots of different methods of doing this that people have shown me along the way. This is a little trick that an individual gave me that I really like because it's easy to control the amount of wax that's going on. You don't get, a buildup in one area or another. It's quick, it's efficient. Next step is to take the heat gun and a clean cloth, some light heat, doesn't take a whole lot to melt that wax. Okay, I'm happy with that. Next step is to soak it in water and then take it over to the airplane and form it around the strut. Alright, so now I'm just going to get it nice and saturated with water. You can see that nice coat of wax on the leather there. Okay, now we'll take it over the airplane and we'll form it. Alright, so the wet leather, it stretches nicely. We've got plenty of excess here to clamp onto, and later for poking the holes and stitching it together. Flatten out the base here. All this is going to get trimmed down. There's holes that are punched here for the fasteners to go into. I could put a little clamp there, but I'm actually not. It's holding together really, really nicely, and putting this clamp does leave an indentation in the leather that sometimes you have to work out, so I kind of lucked out here. So we're going to leave it like that, and that'll dry overnight, and then tomorrow can come back, trim up the leather, and punch the holes. Okay, so this is all formed and dry, so just set that aside. Get rid of the wax paper. Okay. We're gonna need this momentarily. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark where we want the holes to start. end to end. Leather punch. Top set looks nice. Go ahead and do the bottom set. Okay, that lines up nice. Now we need to punch the holes in the bottom. Okay, this is the excess that we're taking off. We're going to pick up the holes here. Trim off the excess we outlined. Get the proper size hole. Next, I'm going to put the fasteners in to hold it in place, and that way when I stitch it, I know that I'm not shifting these holes around at all. We're ready for our last step, which is to go ahead and use some wax cord and stitch this up. About that much. just tied it off a little. Snipped off the ends for aesthetics. Do the bottom one. As simple as that, and we're done.